What is up? Facebook Live. We are here to launch a new book. I know you're sick of hearing me say that, but here we are again. Launching a new book. We should have my co-writer and co-creator for the book joining me shortly if we can manage Meta, the most horrible program there's ever been in the history of time and space. Then we're going to try to do that. I don't even know if we're live right now in the thing we're supposed to be live in. It looks like Mark is there. Mark, are we live in the event? It's not real clear on my phone. Can you hear me? Or am I live on my regular page? Yeah, drop it in the chat. Because, yeah, Meta, of course, should have known that. It's, the most useless, non-user friendly thing there's ever been in the history of time. So it's no surprise that it wouldn't work. And now we're going to have to do it. All right. We'll do it live because we have to. I thought I'd be able to share my screen and do some other stuff, but, again, it's Meta. Meta stinks. So we'll have to do it here. All right. All right. So, yeah, it's going to be just another one of those days where we try to do the best we can with what we got. So we actually launched yesterday. I know this is probably no surprise to anybody. The first day can be hectic. So, and Aaron, if you're out there, I don't see you. Try to drop something in the chat and see if I can see it. But yeah, the first day can be hectic, so sometimes it's not the best to do these kind of live things. Yeah, so we're just trying to kind of problem solve here as we get started. I don't know if I'll be able to share my screen. Probably not. Maybe Aaron's on a desktop. Maybe he can. Maybe you have to be on mobile to do any of these things. But again, even trying to figure this out, trying to, Google and figure out any of this stuff was next to impossible because, everything's run by AI and AI just regurgitates everything that's been on there for 20 years that's not relevant for right now. So we're doing the best we can. So we're going to try for a couple more minutes to get Aaron to join in here. Yeah. Okay. This is annoying. This is annoying. And then, of course, all the programs you want to use. This up. All the programs you want to use are no longer free or charge a bunch. So it is what it is. So we will try, and you see my camera's bouncing everywhere. We're doing the best we can. So we're launching Final Heist. What is Final Heist? It is a crime comic. It is a horror comic. It is a romance comic. It's all those things you loved from 80s and 90s action movies all rolled into one. We're doing some genre mashing, if that's what you want to call it. And we, so Aaron and I have been working on this book for a couple years now. I kind of had the seed of the idea probably 5 years ago. And, it's comics. Things take a long time. We had creative team changes and I didn't really know where I wanted to go with the book. So that's when I brought Aaron in to co-write it. I originally was going to have Aaron edit the book because, he's an editor. If you don't know Aaron Dowen from Catalyst Comics, he's an editor, but I decided, he just had excitement for the book and he was, seemed like he was really into the idea. And I was like, well, why don't you just co-write it with me? And I'm glad that he came on because he's been a great partner for the book. I actually haven't had a lot of experience with co-writing with people. So it was an interesting chance to do something different for me too. So again, drop in the chat how the sound is because I am on a mobile phone trying to do the best we can. I don't even know if anybody can hear me. Yeah, let me go to my Facebook and see. Can I see this? This is all very, very exciting. But yeah, we brought Aaron in. Now he's co-writing the book. He has completed his role many months ago. And then you know, we had some creative team changes. We had okay, good. Well, I'm just checking this out. We brought Aaron in, and we had a creative team change at the same time. So right after he and I finished the book, we started pitching it to artists, and here you are. Yeah, it's not letting me add you. Let me see. Video call. Audio call. Yeah. Ugh, Meta's horrible. But yeah, so we had some creative team changes that delayed things, and I think it ended up working out how it was supposed to work out. We put a pause on the book because we brought in awesome artist Deborah Lanchadisi to do the interior art and a cover for us, and her schedule just wasn't really working out, and it would have been really difficult and kind of forcing the book to get it last year. Some of you may know it was on the schedule last year, and okay, so it didn't. No, I don't know. So that would have been a mistake, right? If we just kind of forced the book through, she had to rush it, or I don't know, we had to bring in a second artist. So you know what? We said, you know what? This is indie comics. You can kind of go at your own pace. This isn't an ongoing series. This is a one-shot comic. You get a complete story with these characters. We put a cap on the end. So there was no reason, right? It wasn't part of a series that we were delaying or holding up other people who were trying to work. So, Deborah was willing to work with us on her schedule. Thankfully, this spring, her schedule opened up. We actually had another change with the book. Hopefully, we'll talk about it in a minute if I can figure out how to screen share here. We had another book that went oh, there's Aaron. This is the worst. Yeah, you like my big hand in front of the screen. So we had another book that was delayed, and that ended up working out. Sometimes again things kind of fall into place. Oh my gosh, this is the most horrible app in the history. I'll never use it again. So in the future, look for our streams to be on StreamYard or YouTube, because yeah. Aaron can't find his own face on the screen. He's trying to center himself.
It's all messed up, man.
It is all messed up, man. And oh, geez, my headphones are not working. This is the worst. But what can you do, right? You just got to do the best we got. Here, I'll so I can match you. I'll do the sideways head thing. We'll be two sideways people. Hopefully you can hear me because I can't. It's not coming through my headphones now, so that's another hand.
I hear you. Do you hear me?
I hear you. Let's hear how it sounds.
All right. What's funny is I can't see anything. All I see is the chat.
Say something else.
Saying something else.
You sound good. Oh my God, I'm a mess. You might be able to see behind me. I am in the middle of shipping 2 Kickstarters, which is always the best time to launch a book, right? When you've got a bunch of other stuff distracting you, my desk is a mess. But that's the fun of being your own boss. You get to do whatever you want, whenever you want. But thanks for jumping on. I know it's not the most ideal. We would love to be sharing with you what you can get in the campaign, but instead we'll just talk about it. First off, for anybody who's still in the chat, who's hung in with us through these technical difficulties, thank you. We want to do some fun things as we launch a new book here. This is a whole different IP for us. First time collaborating with another company, first time co-writing a book. So, we wanted to do something fun. We're going to give away, I mentioned, that we brought Aaron on originally as an editor, and he was so excited about the book. We said, we got to co-write this together. But I didn't even think about it at the time. It ended up being an extra blessing in disguise because Aaron made these awesome logo stickers that I should just let Aaron know. I looked at the postage date for these. I have had these on my desk since January 22nd, 2024. So that's how long ago when we
Oh,
started
that was
this
a
journey.
long time ago.
That we started this journey together, and you did these awesome logos. Because my original pitch to Aaron was, it's 3 different types of genres. We're going to kind of go with that theme. I would like you to do logos. And man, first pass, I think he was like, I got you. Every single one. We got, the horror logo. Again, you can get this today if you back the book live while we're on air. Or if you comment and share this video, tag me in it, because if you've already backed, I don't want to punish you. But if you back live on air, you can get these 3 awesome logo stickers. We got the action version here. They're obviously reversed because I'm on a phone, but and then we got our Saved by the Bell. I think was my request from you. It was like a Saved by the Bell 80s logo, and yeah. And I know you do a lot of logo and design work, but talk to the peoples about what it was like, what you thought. We kind of designed before we had ever even seen a page. We had ever really done any breakdowns or anything. We were just like, let's knock out these logos. Well, walk us through that process.
Yeah, man, I remember you saying something about like doing different. Well, we talked about how I gotta also remember that we can only say certain things. We talked about like how we wanted the book to flow, and at some point we just started talking about, what would be cool is if we had like different styled logos, and so then we ended up doing 3 different style logos. I remember, I don't even remember who came up with what. I remember like there was a discussion about Street Fighter for one of them. That's how we got one of them. The horror one was, I think that's the only one that's not really based off of like a particular stylized idea, whereas the other one was straight up Saved by the Bell. Like I think I even used the same color scheme.
Yep. That one, of course, is my favorite, but that one you nailed. I think you said like Street Fighter or Final Fight or something like that. And,
yeah, Final Fight. Yeah, that sounds right.
And obviously, it again, kind of stepping out of my comfort zone, working with a co-writer, for the first time. I mean, obviously, all my collaborators I consider co-writers, all my artists. But this time, in actually sharing a script and kind of dividing up the duties was different for me. But it was definitely also a lesson in let those who have strengths in certain areas, do that area. So like bringing you in for the logos, I'm sure I could have, done a half-assed job, but obviously with your background in design, I think that just, and you wouldn't think so, but I think it adds so much to the book. I think it, again, you see 3 different logos, you're like, well, that's strange. Most books, kind of do one consistent logo for branding and everything, but this one, we wanted you to feel the different genres that we're kind of mashing
together. Yeah. Especially because we're doing a one shot, so I feel like that frees us up to have a little bit more fun with it.
Yeah, and this might sound like a dig at ourselves, but it's not something I plan on being on many comic shop shelves. That's just kind of how indie books, so we don't really have to worry about where the logo's placed, how it looks. Obviously we did slap our company logos on there. We want people to know, we worked hard on the book, but again, being your own boss, you get to kind of make those calls. So that was how it started, and then unfortunately I had an artist in mind that I wanted to bring in for the interiors. They weren't able to do so after we kind of went through some of the first phases of it, and we were kind of thought we were ready to move forward. Didn't happen. Took a step back, and that's when up here, actually, his name is Patrick. He in one of the many Discord groups I'm in, I said, hey, does anybody have any artists they'd recommend working with? And he said, well, I've actually just wrapped up working with Deborah Lancinisi, and she's out of Italy. And it just so happened that the book was set in Italy. One of the themes of the book, we can let people know, is that, as it says in the blurb on the site, they go to the world's oldest bank, which there is some dispute in the world of what's the oldest bank, but the oldest one on record is in Italy. So that was just kind of, to me, that felt like, I don't believe in, karma or stuff like that, but sometimes you kind of stop and go, wait a minute, did somebody send me a signal here? Because we got us a real Italian artist to work on.
Yeah. I mean, it was good. Like, I think it all came together the way it needed to. Yeah, I had actually forgotten about the whole original artist thing until you brought it up, like when I was trying to get in here. But I remember now. Yeah. It's fine. Everybody, just you need to work with the people that you can work with.
Yeah.
Well.
and again, different artists to work with. I had never worked with Deborah, but I've seen her work. She does a lot with Jonathan Hedrick, if anybody follows him. So yeah, she's got the chops, and obviously that's the most important part. Can they convey the story that you're trying to tell? And I think her art style is flexible enough, cartoony enough, where it kind of fits in multiple genres. And then of course I asked her, given your style, I'd like you to do the kind of romance 80s TV show cover, and again she kind of nailed that. So I think she was the right one to bring in. And as I was saying before, we were able to bring you on. There was a whole bunch of problems with scheduling and your schedule, and Aaron was going to burn the comics world to the ground at one point, and I told him no, let's do one comic before you do it, and he said fine. So there was
pretty much
that, and I had 8,000 projects in the air, so I think it ended up being better. Thankfully, she was able to open up her schedule this spring because I had another project in child possession services delayed. And here we are. She knocked out half the pages. Once her schedule opened up, she was able to knock out 20 pages in a month because, she's a full-time artist. So, and yeah, she was very open, suggestions. The process was very smooth. Her art's great. Just so people know too, because I know that's sometimes hesitation with people in backing. The book is done. The artwork is done. There is some drawing tiers that we're doing, including we will add a bonus page, an entire page of you being chased by the team and possibly oofed in the process if you're interested in that. So that's one special thing that we're adding to the campaign. But other than that, the book is done. I'm about a third of the way through letters. Then we just have to kind of proofread it, put the credits page, and send it off to print. So we're all good. No worries about delays or anything like that at this point. I wanted it to get pretty close to completion given the year and a half delay that we've had in getting it off the ground. So it is, and unless my hands stop working and I can't letter, but then Aaron also letters, I could just hand it to him. So
yeah, that's true.
We got the backup.
That's right. We'll get it done one way or another.
So again, if you're joining us here late, if you back now while we're live on the air, the link should be in the live Facebook. I have so many of these stickers that I've just been waiting. Again, as soon as Aaron made these, I said the next sticker sale, I'm ordering them. I don't care if this book takes 20 years to come out. I like the logo, so I wanted to order them right away. So they've just been waiting to get in people's hands. So if you back live on the air, or you backed before this and you share this video out to someone and tag me in it, we'll get you in that. And we'll if you're a digital backer, that's okay too. We understand. I'll contact you personally, and we'll set up something special to upgrade your pledge there too.
Whatever it takes.
So you and I have not talked in a while live. Tell us, catch us up to speed. What are you up to? I know you have a novel that's coming out or in the works. Tell the people who Aaron is.
Yeah, I've been working on prose stuff a lot lately. This is I posted yesterday. You dragged me back into the comic book world. I've been spending a lot of.
They're done.
Yeah, exactly. I've been working on Substack a lot. I worked on it a whole lot last year, and then I've kind of been working on this other stuff a little bit more this year, so it's kind of moved Substack back a little bit. But I use my Substack for like writing stories, flash fictions, some ongoing stories and stuff like that as well. So it's not just for email updates and stuff like that. But I've been doing a lot of that, and then working on a night cowboy, a spy, and a mercenary walk into a bar and other short stories, volume 1, which is really like my first. I grew up reading collected short stories, but I also grew up reading like classic literature and stuff too. And people like Nathaniel Hawthorne, Philip K. Dick, like all those people that had like groups of short stories that they shoved into a book, I always thought was cool. And so I figured, I've written a couple of books, shorter, smaller books, but this will be the first thing that's like pretty hefty. It's got, right now it's looking like it's probably going to be 5 novellas, and then just a whole smattering of, I think there's 5 short stories that are in there as well. So it's going to be a pretty hefty book, but I've been just kind of working on that, working toward getting that edited, and beta groups and reading through it as well. So it's been a different experience because it's so used to the comic book world that working with prose and trying to figure out how that marketing works is very different. But I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed getting to know new people as well, and people outside of the comic book sphere, like like reader, like real heavy readers. So that's been interesting. So working on that, and at some point I got to do one last job, the full graphic novel, close that story out. But that's just gonna sit there, and I keep telling myself, and I've said it a few times, like if it hits like 200 followers, then maybe I'll launch it. But we'll see.
That's kind of a fun bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not brave enough for prose. I don't have a grasp on the English language yet, so I hide my words behind pretty pictures. But that's really cool. I do feel like people should dabble more in short stories. I feel like there's a lot of impact you can have. I mean, you mentioned so many great writers who work in that medium. Your novel doesn't have your writing doesn't have to be a novel. Sometimes it starts with a short story or novella, something like that, and that can be just as impactful. Get in and get out. So.
I mean, some of the classic writers, that's all they did was short stories. So that's what they're known for. Like, they're not known for novels. Like, I mean, Edgar Allan Poe, like, everybody talks about that dude. And most of his stuff was pretty friggin' short.
Right. I was actually surprised to hear how much the Lovecraft stuff was a lot of shorts too, right? Or
yes, yeah. Most all of it was, yeah. If not all of it, I think it all was. But yeah, I mean, a lot of, like Nathaniel Hawthorne, there's a couple of longer format things, but for the most part, everything that he ever did was short stories, and he was a big inspiration for me just off of the way that he would encapsulate character development and stuff. And for anyone that doesn't know, you should go check out like The Minister's Black Veil. I always thought that was a really cool, semi-creepy story, and it's such a simple such a simple idea. Is just like, what if a minister just wore a veil over his face, just started wearing a veil over his face, never took it off, and then it's just watching a town lose their minds over why he's wearing it. That's a good plot. Like, that's just so simple. But yeah, stuff like that, I don't know, that's always had a kind of a calling for me. And honestly, it's kind of what my Substack is, like a lot of flash fictions, a lot of just like little one-off stories, and I dabble in a little bit of everything. One of the newer ones I put up there is called, I had to start a whole new side of my Substack, called Tiny Daggers. And it's, I have this idea of a dad going in to check on his kid who was sick, but having to going through the kid's room to get to the kid to check his temperature. And for any parents that know, Legos and things like that, I wrote it as if it were a war story. And I mean, that's pretty fun to me.
Yeah, that's
what up,
super
Catherine?
fun. I'm glad you mentioned, and yeah, I'm trying to watch the chat because unfortunately it's not popping up on my screen here, but I'm watching it on two screens. But you mentioned your Substack. If you're not following Aaron, we'll put hopefully he'll drop a link in the chat or something. I like how you do your Substack, and again, the idea of like labeling it differently if people want different features or things like that is really cool. If I'm not feeling up to reading something today, or it's just kind of an update on general, I kind of know that right away. Most people at this point, I think probably including my Substack readers, they probably filter it out or just delete it right away because they kind of know my stuff is just generally constant updates about what's going on. So I think offering people something different is super cool. So, I think you're one of the few that, put some meaningful effort into their Substack.
Yeah, I've been trying to encourage more writers, people like yourself as well. Like, all right, I'm not going to name drop the person that we're not allowed to name drop, but like, there is a very famous writer that everyone knows his different content and his different works, and all of it started as prose, and then guess what? It was beloved, and so it became comic books, graphic novels, television shows. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I've been trying to rethink the way that I approach all this stuff. Prose, I've said it before, prose was my first love. I'd been writing stuff before I ever moved into the comic book world, so it's why I can be away for a year and just work on prose stuff and be perfectly happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know some other, some writers like Jonathan Hickman have, dabbled in trying to add that, and other writers, well, Bill Willingham did that a lot in Fables. I think people should kind of take those risks more often. I know sometimes if you don't do it right, like, it can bring your comic reading to screeching to a halt. But I do think there's ways that people can kind of work that in better and make it more of an illustrated novel type experience if they need, more exposition to explain than, you know, a guy standing, you know, picking up something off the ground. There could be more that you want the.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, for mine, kind of what ended up happening was the four main novellas are about a knight, a cowboy, a spy, and a mercenary. They're four different stories, different time periods, all that stuff. But they're all tied into the superhero universe that I had created with Tilt and Paradigm. But they're all involved in that world, just told with completely different styles. For instance, the Knight one's going to be more kind of like Fall of Night. It's going to be more like medieval. Powers are going to exhibit themselves in a different way. The story's not written to be a superhero story. And then you got a cowboy, which is the first time, my first foray. Anyway, into Western. Like, I've never written anything like that. It was super fun to develop, and that one's a bullet for the road. And then there's the spy one, which is going to be set in like 1950s Red Scare. And then the mercenary one's already out there, Silhouette Shadow Games. That's actually told from who was supposed to eventually be her main villain in the comic books. It's told from his point of view. But anyway, all those were tied into the world. It was a way. Thank you, Katrina. I knew it was going to be you to correct it. That's why you're here. But anyway, those stories were more of a like, okay, well, what if you wanted more of the world and the universe? Like, don't just think that what's happening in Tilt or what's happening in Paradigm's the only things going on. There's a history here, and that's kind of the fun of doing short stories, novellas, all that kind of stuff, is you get to explore your own stories way deeper. And I've found that people tend to, especially with those four in particular, find one that they like at least one, because they're different styles. So
Nice. Yeah, and I know they did that a lot with Star Wars. You know,
yeah,
their expansion, people rave about that. And Mike Mignola in his Hellboy universe did that a lot. One of my favorite creations of his is Lord Baltimore, and that started as a novel, Lord Baltimore and the Steadfast Tin Soldier. That novel is great, and I need to read more of that too, because you're right. If you love that, there's just so much more you can get out of prose, and some stories are bigger than, you know, you can tell in a 20 or even 60-page comic. So
yeah, for
that's
sure.
cool. Yeah, and the other thing I did want to mention, Aaron mentioned a couple times, One Last Job, which is, you know, you definitely should check out his awesome crime book. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that part of the reason Aaron was brought in is because it was just, I was making a little jab at him. I was like, you know, one last job, you know, that's kind of, you know, the theme of a lot of these stories. And I said, well, I'm going to make one that's like one last final job, the end, or something like that. And then, so when it came to like think of a title for our book now, it was Final Heist is what it ended up being, but it was originally like One Last Final Heist or something like that.
What's funny is like when I was trying to come up with descriptions and like a log line and stuff, and it's so hard not to put, you know, one last job for the team that's getting together. Like, it's so hard not to use those words, but
that's all I
it
did
makes me want to put a wink, like a wink afterwards.
I took last and made it final, so it didn't sound like the same.
There you go.
Like I've said this before, like a lot of stories that I've enjoyed writing, they always start off as a good like inside joke or something, and then I was like, well, wait a minute. When I was talking to him, I was like, I think we actually have a story here, so I guess we'll not make it a funny jab at you, and let's actually flesh it out and make it.
I mean, this was my first time co-writing with somebody too, honestly, and I think one of the things I learned from it is I think you and I both enjoyed just throwing like a what if to each other, and that's how a lot of the different story elements came about. Was well, what if this, what if that, and that's why we ended up doing what we did, and why there's 3 logos and stuff is because we just kept asking each other, what if this.
And I do have that document still. And I should tell people, if you get the deluxe PDF, you'll get that, because I think that was kind of a fun include. It's not a full script, you know, those can be kind of boring to read, but I just thought it was a really funny, you know, an include, because yeah, I think you'll see exactly where Aaron and I started before we'd even scripted any pages. You know, it was a fun thing to go back and revisit again, you know, a year or so later when the project got back off the ground. So
yeah.
But yeah, before we wrap up here, we again just want to remind people, if you want free stickers, we got free stickers. We have all these awesome logos that we talked about. These will be thrown in if you back live on the air today, or you share this video. Please share it out. Tag me in it, and we'll add, free stickers to your order. And we want to let people know, again, for those who've hung in this long, if you've backed already, you're in. But if you haven't, you're going to want to back, because part of these stories, right, is that they have secret information. They're trying to figure out how to infiltrate something, et cetera, right? Those kind of tropes. So we're going to offer some secret tiers only for those who've backed already. So if you've backed already, when I send out an update, so we talked about, Aaron's Substack and making things more meaningful, we want you to actually be excited throughout the campaign. So you're going to get the first chance to a link. Kickstarter just introduced these secret tiers. You have to have the link to get it. So we're going to offer it up to anybody who's already backed the book. So if you want to move tiers or add something, you'll have a chance to add secret items as we get closer to our goal. So we thought that'd be kind of fun. Again, because this is kind of, crime espionage type of book. Why not some secret tiers, which Kickstarter just introduced this year. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know how much you're gonna share in the secret tiers with people, but I feel like this particular book, the way that we did part of it, I don't really see it done like that. And I guess you could say for better or for worse, but I think it's done in a different way, and it brings a lot of, I feel like something special to the story itself, that we were able to pull off what we did.
Yeah, then that's my hope, and we're being intentionally vague, because there's secrets within secret squads and societies that you can't always know. So you got to get the book and crack it open. But there is unique content in each, and yeah, it was probably bad for the budget, right? But I think good long term, because my hope is that people will read it and kind of enjoy that extra stuff at the end. That
that was another what if conversation that we had, though. As I remember, like, I was talking about, like, wouldn't it be funny if, like, people were talking about the book and they said different things? Like, how could we accomplish that? And then we just ended up coming up with extra content and stuff.
Yeah, again, sometimes an idea is just too good, and like we said, there's been some roadblocks in the way that we probably should have maybe listened to the signs and said, what, this project's not going to work out. But what the hell? Here we are. It's finished. I sunk all Part-Time Comix funds into it, but we're going to get there. And I think it'll be something, because again, like you said, I think it's a little bit unique. It's not as straightforward as it looks, and I'm hoping that people will talk about it after it's out. So yeah, get in on those secret tiers. Again, if you back, the earlier you back, the more chances you'll have at those secret items. And again, if you back live here on the air, we'll throw some extra stuff, some stickers in your order, or some digital stuff if you're a digital backer. So we do appreciate it. What I have coming up next, and again, I was hoping to kind of share with you on the screen, but we've talked about the technical difficulties. So Child Possession Services, longest running series of Part-Time Comix. The first book that we ever put out when I started the company, my second go around with a comics company, is for better or worse, is coming to an end. The sales and support has not been where it needs to be. We had to change. I lost my co-creator as an artist. He wasn't able to complete the project. We brought in an amazing artist, Mata Sorcier. She's also moving on career-wise. So I kind of, again, looking for those signs and saying, okay, maybe this is a good time to put a pin in Connie's story. It ties into some earlier stories I told when I was with another company. So I think it has a good ending, but I thought better now than before we make, an even bigger story and we can't tie up those loose ends. I think we've got it'll end up being a great 4-issue story and a great trade in the future, but it is coming to an end. It was supposed to be live right now, but we had some changes, and I think that's for the better. We're going to give Mata more time to do the pages. Final Heist was ready. So in September, the finale that is so hot, we can't even tell you the subtitle of this book, because all the CPS titles have a subtitle. But it is the 4th issue in the series. It is continuing on the story of Connie and in her universe where possession is very commonplace around the world. And of course, the government makes a poorly run agency and underfunded agency to work with these kids that are possessed. And Connie is one of those social workers. So we're very grateful for all the support we've gotten so far. And it's in no way saying, oh, darn it, this was a failure. It was definitely not. But I think it's a good place to wrap it up. We have a lot more issues of Drumsticks of Doom to get through, and I think it's time to kind of focus back on that series so that it can reach its conclusion hopefully next year or the year after. And then who knows, you know, we maybe bring Connie back or some other story in that universe or something like that. But Child Possession Services will be in September. Drumsticks of Doom, Band on the Silver Mountain, our second series in that universe, issue 3 is in July. So we still have 2 more books after Final Heist. It'll be 5 again this year. I told myself last year I wouldn't do so many, and here I am doing the same as I did last year because I never listened to myself.
Nope.
Yeah, this is like I feel like I'm always beating this drum, but every campaign boosts the next. So Final Heist is a huge hurdle for us. Again, it was a big budget book. We've got a lot into it already. So it's really important that, you know, we definitely get over this hump. So we understand not everybody can back these days. We get that. But the sharing really helps. I mean, there's the 5 people, you know, or 10 people that have checked in here. You know, I have almost 3,000 followers on Facebook, and I would tell you, you know, 100 of them see my posts. Same on all the other social medias. Substacks go to, you know, spam mail sometimes. Any boost you can give to us independent creators is a huge support. Even if you think, oh, I've only got 3 followers, I'm not going to share this. It helps. It all helps. And it tells, you know, Facebook that you want to see that, and then anybody else who likes it want to see that kind of content. Anyway, we all know how social media works. It's a frustrating place. We hate to, you know, have to keep, you know, spamming everybody, but it just, you know, we have to. So any help you can give in that regard, we understand not everybody can back financially. We get that. But all the shares and supports really helps. We have retail tiers on a lot of our things. So telling your retailers, letting them know, hey, have you checked out Part-Time Comix? If you checked out Catalyst Comics, all that stuff helps us, you know, long term.
Yep.
And he agrees. But yeah, I appreciate you kind of battling through some of the technical difficulties, and I wish we could have shared awesome art on the campaign here today. But I know that, you know, anybody watching or seeing this afterwards, again, you say Final Heist. Unfortunately, in the time we made this comic in the last couple of years, there was a movie made, but we're not associated with that. You know, we had the title first. I have it documented in email, so.
Actually, yeah, I didn't even realize that till like a couple days ago when I was looking through information, and I came across the cover, the DVD cover.
Yep. Yeah, I unfortunately found that out a few months ago. I was like, oh, damn it. You know, sometimes you sit on stuff too long. But again, our story's different. And if they sue us, you know, no publicity is bad publicity, so maybe that'll help the book. So, yeah. But
Yeah, I mean, right? It could be a hot product, y'all.
It's a great title. It's bound somebody else was going to scoop it up.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like One Last Job, that's definitely like a game, a book, you know, whatever.
Funny, but yeah. All right. Well, again, say you saw this video. You know, we're up to 35 backers already. We appreciate everybody getting us off to a start. We're launching in our first weekend, which is really important for these campaigns to kind of get the funding up in those first couple of days. So we appreciate all the shares, and yeah, appreciate all your work on this, Aaron. I know it's been a long time coming, so.
Yeah, man, 37, by the way, not 35.
Yay! I got some free stuff to give away then, because I think we were at.
Yes, you do.
All right. I'll make it a note right now to all you wonderful people. Add note. Add stickers. Yay. I won't reveal who you are because I don't know how people are about that kind of stuff. But thank you if you're still watching.
Nah, it's a fun book, and I promise, like, if you're into any of the genres that are even mentioned, then it's got something for you. And then I think pretty much for the way that we did stuff. I just think it's something that down the road people are going to be like, oh, well, that was definitely different that they did it that way. So definitely. It's worth it.
Yeah. Thanks for.
And it's a one shot.
And it's a one shot. You get a complete story, right?
Yeah.
Every dollar goes to supporting the book too. Aaron and I aren't going to pocket anything until we sell about 1,000 copies of this. So.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So we appreciate
1 million copies.
Everybody. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.